Hi everybody, welcome to my new channel Hearts and Crafts. Thank you so much for being here and I hope you enjoy what I'm about to show you through many videos. So, a little bit about me. This is my first video that I'm making on YouTube and I've been crafting with Jesmonite, epoxy resin, Raysin, other air drying clay forms for the last couple of months. I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the process and the different ways that you can make things. So in this video I'm making a couple of vases or pots with Raysin and with epoxy resin. Here you can see me pouring the Raysin in and I've got them tilted at a level because I want to be able to have half and half, so to speak, without you only seeing top half with Raysin and the bottom half with epoxy. I thought it'd be a bit different to try this way. So I've poured my Raysin in and now I am tapping it to get any air bubbles out of it, giving it a little squeeze and hoping that I've missed all the air bubbles and managed to get them all out. I'm making a mess here now and filling in the tops with some Raysin. I'm trying to get a half effect here as well, but it's not quite worked as well as I hoped because the tops are quite floppy. As soon as I move them, they change shape. So I'm going to have to think of maybe putting a book underneath it and keeping it level that way for next time. So I'm just finishing off now and adding a little bit extra. Once I've done that, I'm going to leave it for about 20 minutes to harden before I start my epoxy. So here I am with my epoxy. I have added some glitter to it. I've got the Hemway biodegradable glitter. It's super sparkly and it looks really pretty. And I've also used some Let's Resin mica powder and just to add a bit of colour and a bit of a shift. So I'm filling my mould up, not all the way, just enough so that I'm able to pick it up. Give it a tap, give it a nudge, give it a wiggle to make sure all the little air bubbles manage to come out. So I'm giving it a squeeze here, and a little tap and a nudge. I'm swirling it around a little just so it goes into any of the Raysin that is thinner, and then I top up with the rest of the epoxy. So you can already see that I've got some gloves on. I have also some glasses on and also a ventilator mask on because I don't want to be breathing in any of the fumes that are released when you mix the two parts of the resin together, and I don't really want any of it on my skin. So here I am mixing the silver glitter in, and I'm going to add some purple glitter into it too, just to give it that extra shine and to go with the light purple Raysin that I have already in the pot. Give it a stir just to make sure it's all mixed in properly and it spreads through quite nicely. I did pick up some alcohol inks and I do wish I had left them at the side because I also rooted through my box and found my silver one, which at the end of demoulding you'll see that it didn't quite work out as much as I planned it to. So it's hard and you can see it is through the mould. Now pouring some of my glitter on and adding a couple of drops or a few more of the alcohol ink. I've never actually used it before in epoxy resin, so I wasn't sure how it would work. But that's quite a nice shine, and I wish I'd left it at that with just the pink in or the rose gold. Again, I didn't fill the tub up with epoxy all the way to the top, so I could pick it up, Give it a wiggle round, make sure there's no air bubbles in, and then fill it up to the top again. I'm just trying to mix the alcohol ink in now as well. I'm going to move on to the top now. I wasn't quite sure what to do with this at first, whether to drop the alcohol ink into the epoxy or drop it in as I'm pouring the epoxy, and then I decide to try something different and just drop it on the lid instead. Don't think that did anything. I think the Raysin just soaked up the blobs of alcohol ink. You can see them shift a little bit, but not too much. So I add some more. Again, just picking up the lid. I've not poured enough epoxy in so it doesn't spill over, but just putting enough in so I can swirl it round. So now I've got enough epoxy in, I start messing around again with the alcohol inks. I'm adding some rose gold, and I should have just left it as that because that looks quite pretty. But I then decided to add some silver. And I wish I'd left it either just with one or none at all. And I think next time I come around and do this, I won't stir it unless I'm making some swirl or some pattern, and I'll come and check on it again after a couple of hours. I start swirling it. I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. Just kind of making a mess really. But it's a lesson learnt. I know I've taken my glove off. I'm not really touching anything except for the clean wooden stick. So that's the 2 pots filled with epoxy and some alcohol ink on top. Now I wait 24 hours. Once these are ready, and then I will demould them. So here they are. Here's the top of one of them. I love this, absolutely love it. It's so shiny, it's so smooth. A couple of air bubbles on the top, and I could have stopped those I think if I'd have come down and check to see if there were any. So here's the pot. This is absolutely gorgeous and I really love this. I love the depth of that purple, and you can see a bit of a shift in colour. As I'm demoulding it, I notice where the epoxy resin has seeped into the Raysin a little bit on the side and changed the colour slightly where it has. Just here, I think it's a beautiful definition of 2 things coming together. As I'm turning it around and looking at it, I'm really happy that I put it on a slant rather than the top half being one and the bottom half being epoxy. It looks really different and I think it's really nice, and I'm looking forward to the next one I make. So on to the next one, and here is the silver blob. Apart from that bit, I'm really happy with this again, but I think I'm going to cover that up with some vinyl, make a picture and then give it another top coat of epoxy just to hide the big silver blob. The bottom you can't really see because it is the bottom. now I'm demoulding my second pot, and as I'm doing this, I'm quite enjoying the look of it. Again, the different textures and the different shapes of how the epoxy and the resin is set. But as I'm turning it round, I realise I forgot to tip some of my glitter out. Still looks really nice, but there was a lot of glitter there which I didn't tip out, so it's left a little bit of a dinting. But again, it's another lesson learnt for next time. You can see where the epoxy and the resin have mixed together a little bit there, and the lid fits perfect. So trust the process, try something new. Even if it doesn't work, you've learnt something, and it was fun to do. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and if there's any questions, drop it in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. And look forward to seeing you here next time. Bye!